Hey, legends in the making! You're tuned to WWE Uncovered, bringing WWE to your screen daily. Hit that bell, and let's start. There are moments in professional wrestling that don't just shock you, they stop the entire world in its tracks. Last night on SmackDown was one of those moments. The scene was chaos wrapped in disbelief, as Nick Aldis, the SmackDown general manager, stood in the center of the ring with a microphone trembling in his hand. The air in the arena was thick with anticipation, fans still catching their breath after Drew McIntyre's brutal match moments earlier. And then, in a voice that cut through the noise like a blade, Aldis announced the words no one saw coming. Drew McIntyre, effective immediately. You're suspended. The crowd gasped, the energy in the building shifting from celebration to outrage in an instant. This wasn't a standard storyline twist. It wasn't a typical authority angle designed to get boos. This felt personal. You could see it in Drew's eyes as he stood at the top of the ramp, battered from his match, his expression flickering between confusion, disbelief, and rising fury. The Scottish Warrior, one of WWE's most respected veterans, had just been publicly humiliated. And in that instant, every fan watching knew something had changed forever. The heart and soul of SmackDown. To understand the gravity of what happened, you have to understand what Drew McIntyre means to WWE. Over the past year, Drew has been nothing short of the backbone of SmackDown. He's been the workhorse, the man delivering main event level performances week after week, no matter the opponent or stipulation. His promos have been honest and heartfelt, his matches physically demanding and emotionally charged. Fans don't just cheer for Drew because he's a powerhouse in the ring. They cheer because he represents authenticity in an industry that often thrives on spectacle. He's the man who fought his way back from being released years ago, who rebuilt himself on the independent scene, and who returned stronger, sharper, and more determined than ever to prove he belonged among wrestling's elite. Through all of it, Drew never stopped believing in the fans, and the fans never stopped believing in him. That's what made Aldis's decision feel like a betrayal, not just to Drew, but to everyone who has followed his journey. The reaction in the arena wasn't just noise, it was heartbreak, disguised as rage. The breaking point. The night had started like any other for Drew. He had just gone through a grueling street fight, the kind of match that leaves both competitors barely standing. When the final bell rang and the referee raised his hand in victory, the crowd erupted in appreciation. This was the kind of moment that should have cemented Drew's legacy. A warrior conquering yet another battle. But the celebration didn't last long. The familiar theme of Nick Aldis hit, and immediately the atmosphere shifted. Aldis walked to the ring with a controlled confidence that felt off. You could see it in his smirk, the way he carried himself, the way he looked at Drew as if this confrontation had been planned long before the match ever began. The tension was suffocating. Aldis began listing off moments of so-called insubordination, times when Drew had spoken his mind about company decisions or challenged management's authority. Each example felt less like a legitimate grievance and more like a list of personal vendettas. Fans could sense what was coming. This wasn't about professionalism or discipline. It was about power, about control, about a man in authority reminding everyone who really holds the keys to the kingdom. And when Aldis delivered his final line, suspending Drew indefinitely, the eruption from the crowd was unlike anything heard in recent WWE memory. The speech that shook the locker room. As security surrounded Drew, trying to escort him out of the ring, the Scottish Warrior refused to leave quietly. He grabbed a microphone, his voice raw from exhaustion but filled with conviction. What followed wasn't a scripted promo. It was a heartfelt declaration from a man who had reached his breaking point. Drew spoke about everything he had given to this company: the years of sacrifice, the endless travel, the physical pain, and the emotional toll that comes with being one of WWE's top performers. He reminded everyone that when WWE needed someone to carry the flag during its toughest times, he did it with pride and without hesitation. His voice cracked when he talked about the people behind the curtain who rarely get credit: the crew, the referees, the wrestlers fighting for opportunities that never come. And then, looking straight into Aldis's eyes, Drew delivered the line that echoed through the arena and across social media within seconds. "You don't fire Drew McIntyre. I walk away when I choose. Until then, I am this company's heart, whether you like it or not." He dropped the microphone and walked up the ramp to a thunderous ovation. It wasn't just a walkout. It was a statement of defiance. The fallout heard around the world. Once the cameras stopped rolling, the chaos didn't. Reports from backstage described an atmosphere of shock and solidarity. Multiple superstars were said to have surrounded Drew as he prepared to leave, offering support and applause. Others, reportedly, joined him in speaking up about frustrations that had been building for months, about creative stagnation, missed opportunities, and a growing disconnect between management and the roster. Whether those reports are exaggerated or not, one thing is certain: Drew McIntyre's suspension struck a nerve. Social media exploded instantly. Hashtags supporting Drew trended worldwide, and fans flooded WWE's accounts with demands for his reinstatement. Commentators, podcasters, and former wrestlers weighed in, many calling it one of the boldest and most emotional moments in recent wrestling memory. Sponsors reportedly reached out for clarification, unsure of where reality ended and storyline began. For fans, it didn't matter. What mattered was that they had witnessed something that felt real: an honest confrontation between a performer's passion and corporate control. The man behind the decision, Nick Aldis, has always been a polarizing figure in professional wrestling: charismatic, confident, and calculated. As SmackDown general manager, he's taken on the role of the strict authority figure, the one who claims to keep order, but often seems to thrive on controversy. His decision to suspend Drew McIntyre live on television may have been designed to generate heat, but it crossed an emotional line with fans who view Drew as one of the few true heroes left in the business. In fairness, Aldis has been effective at creating tension and drama, two things essential to compelling wrestling television. But there's a fine line between storytelling that excites fans and decisions that alienate them. In this case, many feel that line was crossed. The reaction wasn't the usual chorus of playful boos aimed at a villain doing his job. It was genuine anger from a fan base that felt betrayed. Even so, Aldis's performance shouldn't be ignored. He played his role to perfection, embodying the kind of authority that fans love to despise. The question now is whether WWE can harness that heat to fuel a larger storyline that brings Drew back stronger than ever, or if this moment becomes a symbol of how far removed management can sometimes feel from its audience.